Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. It is December the 22nd of 2021. Yesterday was supposed to be the big announcement, and of course, there wasn't, because again, I have said before that I think that any time that we create so much of a buzz around something that the the people that supposedly run this world, anytime they say that something's going to happen, I think that when we create enough buzz, we get enough people talking about it, then they have to change their plans. Some people may not believe that, but I believe that. I think that we created enough of a buzz around it that they didn't go forward with what they were saying, even though Boston and Chicago, boy, we would talk about going into some pure fascist tyranny. Anyways, enough about that. Today I'm going to read Psalm 74. This is a maskil of Asaph, which you remember it's is this the poem of learning, a maskil, which I said was just one of those words. It's very weird. So this is Psalm 74. O God, why hast thou cast us off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Remember thy congregation, which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion, wherein thou hast dwelt. Lift up thy feet unto the perpetual desolations, even all that the enemy hath done wickedly in the sanctuary. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregations. They set up their ensigns for signs. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees. I might read that again. Hold on a second. I just want to check, make sure something. Sorry. Okay. Because I had to flip the page, I wanted to make sure that we were on the right. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Psalm 74, verse 5. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees. But now they break down the carved work thereof at once with axes and hammers. They have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of thy name to the ground. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues of God in the land. We see not our signs. There is no more any prophets. Neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. O God, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blaspheme thy name forever? Why withdrawest thou thy hand, even thy right hand? Pluck it out of thy bosom. For God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. Thou didst cleave the fountain and the flood. Thou driest up mighty rivers. The day is thine, the night also is thine. Thou hast prepared the light and the sun. Thou hast set all the borders of the earth. Thou hast made summer and winter. Remember this, that the enemy hath reproached, O Lord, and that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. O deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove unto the multitude of the wicked. Forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Have respect unto the covenants, for the dark places of the earth are full of the habitations of cruelty. O let not the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. Arise, O God, plead thine own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. Forget not the voice of thine enemies. The tumults of those that rise up against thee increaseth continually. Amen. Okay. Stumbling over that one. This one has a lot of stuff in it, and this is one of those that not only did it have a page break that messed me up, but there was a couple places where it had the same words right on top of each other between the lines. So it was this was one that I was having a hard time with reading. We'll definitely go through this though, because there's a lot of hidden things in here. A lot of hidden things that people may not understand. You have to, although it says not to follow the ways of this world, not to have knowledge of the ways of this world, and that is what we should do. At the same time, knowing what the evil ones of this world do, knowing how they've afflicted us and the devices that they use, is something that I don't feel is 100% the ways of this world. You may take that differently. I've been pulled that way to learn about the different things of this world. That's just something that's come to me. I've looked at both things though, and I don't learn about the things of this world so that I can follow the things of this world, because there's a lot that I don't know. There's a lot that I'm not even worried about. I'm worried about what's coming instead of what has happened and what is happening. I know that sounds a little contradictory, and I'm not perfect. I'm not telling anybody what to do. If you want to look past what has been there, a lot of this stuff that I kind of knew, and a lot of this stuff that I had to look up for myself after I had learned truth. You can do however you want. This is just stuff that I've had, knowledge that I have had, that I've been able to use, that I've been able to see in the Bible, and then take that and put it on top of things that have happened and say, look, there's a connection. So I don't consider that the ways of the world. I consider that I consider it a witness. I consider that hey, look, this was here, that was there. So, it's a very fine line. It's tricky. It's a very tricky line. I also think that, the ways of the world is following the ways of man, not God. So it's, I've heard it before, and I'm just trying to stress where I am, because I've had people come to me before and say, you're learning the ways of this world, you're learning the history of this world, and the Bible tells us not to do that. And it's like, no, I don't think I'm learning the ways of this world. I'm learning what has come before so that I can watch out for what's coming now. I mean, if we want to really get into it, you read the Psalms, and I've said it several times. This is what people went through before. This is where you can find your hope. Is that learning the ways of the world? That's just learning your history. It's a tricky, thin line, see? So, but we're going to get into this. It's like I said, there's some things here that they point to some non-biblical texts, some different things, and some people don't like to hear that stuff. So I'm just putting that out there. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm doing is just putting that out there. I don't want anybody to get, if anybody hears this and they're like, oh, I can't do it, I don't want to hear this stuff, that's fine. You don't have to hear it. You can always turn it off. But for me, when I hear it, it's just confirmation that the Bible understood what was going on with things that were happening. So, it's kind of like the Bible calling out, Christmas. So, you know, it's like the Bible calling out Easter. It's like the Bible calling these things out and saying, this is what you shouldn't be doing. This is what this is. If that makes any sense. Again, I want to put that out there so that I am not leading anyone astray. The last thing I want to do is lead anyone astray. All right. Let's start back at the top. O God, why hast thou cast us off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? That's interesting. That might be something to look up in the Strongs. I'm not worried about that right now. Remember thy congregation, which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion, wherein thou hast dwelt. Lift up thy feet unto perpetual desolations, even all that the enemy hath done wickedly in the sanctuary. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregation, in the midst of thy congregations. They set up their ensigns for signs, or their ensigns for signs. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees. A man was famous according to as he. Now I'm going to read the next one. But now they break down the carved work thereof at once with axes and hammers. They have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of thy name to the ground. So we're going to go back up. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes against the thick trees. I'm not saying that's what this is. I'm rereading it. It looks different than it was, but there are tales of men, mighty men of old, who lifted up their axes upon the thick trees. You know what it is. It's a legend that you were told as a child. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they still tell it anymore. It points back to an ancient tale. It's the old game of telephone where you start out, a story on one end, and by the time it gets to the other end, it's changed. So you know the story as Paul Bunyan, the big tall guy that went out into the wilderness and cut down trees with one blow. Mm-hmm. How does that lead back to anything? Well, that leads back to the story of Gilgamesh and what was it? Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Oh, I don't have my old notes. My old notes are gone. So I'm going to look it up real quick. It's been a long time since it's been a long time since I've listened to the Epic of Gilgamesh. There's some interesting things that are happening inside of that. So, the story was that Gilgamesh, here we go. Gilgamesh went out into a forest, cedar forest, cedar trees. If you want to get into how big the trees were, you talk about the cedar trees. Similar to the trees of Lebanon that were, what was it? 140, did they say yalms? I don't remember what it is. The Bible actually talks about them being so high and talking about men being as high as these trees. So the story is that Gilgamesh went out into this forest with Enkidu to fight. Who did he fight? I cannot remember his name. And I am just quickly reading this through the Wikipedia. Some Humbaba. Is that who it was? The demon Humbaba wears 7 coats of armor. Now only wearing 1. But they were talking about Gilgamesh going through the forest, felling trees with 1 blow, and trying to fight this Humbaba. When he goes in there and kills him, he comes back out, and he is gifted. Or no, he's not gifted. He is tasked to fight the great ox, the great bull, which, when you telephone that down, is the tale of Paul Bunyan. You can see how the connection is made. That goes along with something else, and I forget a lot of it. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've been here. There's a video. I have a video somewhere. I don't know where it is. And it's been a long time since I've gone back into my own videos to try to find these. I probably should, though. There's probably information in there I should probably get. I just can't stand hearing myself talk. But that goes back to Nimrod. Nimrod, the Tower of Babel, that whole deal. That goes into his history, where he was out in the wilderness for a while until he decided to create the Tower of Babel as well. I don't remember which book that's in. That's something that, you'd have to go find out for yourself. At the same time, that goes to another giant. It wasn't Og. There was another one that had to do with. It was actually a tale. It's a Jewish folk tale, believe it or not. That they talked about Og helping Noah, because apparently Og was on the, he was on the pre-flood side of this whole thing, according to this tale. He asked Noah if he could go with him on a boat, and Noah said, well, the boat's not finished. We need help building the boat. So Og went into the forest, felled trees. I don't remember if it said if it was with 1 blow or not, and brought the trees back and helped Noah build the boat so that, they could survive the flood. Of course, that kind of lines up with, I can't remember which one it was. It's probably Jubilees. I don't remember which one. Where it says that, the angels came down and helped Noah build the boat. But then, of course, in order to survive, Og grabbed. It was Noah said, if you want to survive, you also have to bring me a unicorn. You have to bring me, at least 1 unicorn. Of course, unicorn was not a horse with a horn coming out of his head. It was basically a rhinoceros. So he went and he found one, and this unicorn was huge. It was so big that Og could ride the thing. So he said, here you go. Here's this thing. And Noah was like, we can't do it. We'll have to lash it to the boat. And Og said, okay, well, that's fine. Then I will ride the unicorn while you survive in the boat. There's another story, there's another tale of that. It kind of changes, where Og rode on top of the boat, and there was no unicorn. So it's, there's a line going there. There's a line of a tail going there, and I think there was some other things going on as well with Native American folklore that talked about somebody going through with a great axe chopping down trees. I don't remember what it was, but these tales, they all line up. There's all some kind of a connection going on there, and when you read these kind of lines in the Bible, where it talks about a man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees, it makes you think back to that. Now, I'm not saying that's what that's about. I'm just telling you that there's a connection there to other things. And of course, outside of talking about biblical things, I've talked about how these tales line up with each other. There's something else going on there, and I'm sure there's even more than that I have not read that you can make even bigger connections to. It's been one of those things that I just kind of was led to follow and led to put together. I mean, you want to talk about the flood myths? You can go through. It's like almost every culture in the world had a flood myth, and all of them talk very similar or have very similar ideas. That it was a family of people that went onto a boat. Some of them point out that it was exactly 8 people that went onto this boat, and that God, whichever God it was, saved these people through a great cataclysmic flood and got these people through to the other side. Sometimes there was a giant there, sometimes there wasn't a giant there. But a lot of these myths say that when they got done, that the person, whoever it was on the boats, he got off and he repopulated the world. He replanted the world with seeds. That there's which one was it? It was a story I read, and I don't remember which one it was. Uh, Definitely way out of canon. That was talking about as soon as Noah got off the boat, God told him, now go reseed the world. So Noah took the rest of his life walking around planting seeds to regrow the world, which is very similar to a tale we call Johnny Appleseed, where he ran around planting seeds for apple trees. You see how these work? You see how these fit together? There's something going on there. And you read these things in the Bible and you understand that, there's a connection. I don't know what it is, but there's a connection. So it's interesting to see. It could lead you away from the word. It could lead you away from the Bible. But as long as you keep an understanding that what you're doing is you're seeing how the world has either twisted the scripture or that it confirms the scripture. If you can understand that, then I think it could only help, not hurt. Some people think it hurts. Some people don't want to hear it. Some people refuse to hear it. Now, I've heard YouTubers just constantly say, I don't want to hear about the plans of the evil ones of this world. I don't need to hear that, because all I need to do is follow God. Well, okay, that's fine. You can follow God, but God himself, the Bible itself, points out how things will happen. I mean, they may say, there will be, let's for example, Mark of the Beast, where it's the name and a number of the name, the whole 666 thing. And if you don't follow the ways of the world, or if you don't follow, not the ways of the world, if you don't follow the knowledge of the world, or understand how they manipulate the world to suit their needs, you may miss the numbers that are hidden down inside. Like if you just followed the Bible and it just said, just watch out for the number 666, but you didn't care about the fact that there's a patent out there that is the number 060606, How would you know? If you didn't understand that they use gematria, and that gematria says that RFID is numerically 666, how would you know? If you didn't understand gematria and the names themselves, and that all these people's names line up to 666, how would you know? If you didn't understand this stuff, how would you be able to see it? I think we can understand, just not follow. So there's a thing there. That's my 2 cents. I got a little upset whenever I was told not to follow the ways of this world. I was like, so then how do we see it? Yeah, I've prayed to the Father constantly. Just show me, make it plain, and let me know where I should go and where I shouldn't go, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And if I am following the wrong way, please lead me away from it. And he keeps leading me back to these things. Not of my own accord. It's always, I'm here, and then it just kind of turns around back to this point where I'm like, oh hey, this is a connection. That's part of what I'm supposed to do, is make these connections, apparently. So am I bad for that? I mean, I don't think it's straying from the path. I think it's helping to make those connections. I I don't, where do you go with it? That's going to be up to the individual. I just that was one of those things that kind of irked me way back then, and I was like, that's not. There's other things going on there. There's other things going on there, and I think that we're supposed to be able to know so that we can be wise as serpents, and that we can definitely not be caught up in the snares of wolves in sheep's clothing. Does that make any sense? I think it makes perfect sense. Okay. But I read that upon the thick trees. Is that talking about what it is? I don't know. But now they break down the carved work thereof at once with axes and hammers. They have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of thy name to the ground. Now, of course, that could also mean that was the men that cut down the trees so that they can make the sanctuary as well. That's what it could mean. And very well what it could mean. It probably is what it means. But I'm just telling you that there's something else going on there. Take it as you will. It is an interpretive thing. I am not a guide. I'm just here to show you. I'm just here to say that there's something else going on there. It could lead you to a different place where you can start connecting legends. And when you start connecting legends, you kind of see how the world works and manipulates. There you go. I think that's a better way of putting it. Again, not trying to lead anybody astray, just trying to say that there's something else going on there. It was what helped me cement my faith. So, take it as you will. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues of God in the land. We see not our signs. There is no more any prophet. Neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. O God, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blaspheme thy name forever? Why withdrawest thou thy hand, even thy right hand? Pluck it out of thy bosom. For God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. Then it gets really interesting. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. So I've read this before, and I either missed the S or it wasn't there before. I've said it before. Every time you read through the Bible, it's something different, and something always pops out at you, something new. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, plural heads of Leviathan, like a hydra. You wonder where this symbology comes from. And gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. My Bible says this leads back to Numbers 14:9. And we will talk about the dragons too. 14:9. Okay, Numbers 14:9. Only rebel not ye against the Lord, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them. That's not right, is it? That's not right. That has nothing to do with it. I'm reading ahead, or reading before that to see if it's. This may be a typo. I've heard this before, though. I think it wasn't Numbers. I think it was. Let's see. I thought it was in Job when he was talking about. Let me look that up. I thought it was in Job where he was talking about, you know, who was it who destroyed Leviathan, and was able to feed him to whatever. 74, then goes a ship through Leviathan. Job 41, canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? But I could swear there was also a place in Revelation where they talked about Leviathan. But it's not here either. It's weird. Why is this not showing up? But of course, Leviathan, the great serpent of the sea, the the great world snake, if you will. Sorry, I'm still looking. I'm still trying to find this. I know it's in here somewhere. I could swear it was in here. I think it's funny though that they're talking about talking about Leviathan was possibly a crocodile. Well, crocodile is just a dragon that's on the land. It's not. But Leviathan was the world snake, the great Ouroboros, the great snake of the sea, the sea serpent, the Hydra. This right here says that there's heads. I've always kind of thought that Leviathan only had the one head. This apparently says there's two. There's more than one head, not just two heads, more than one head. That's interesting. I always thought thou breakest the head of Leviathan in pieces, not the heads, plural. Of course, thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters as well. So there's more than just one of these things. There's the mythology of the sea serpents. And again, there's the mythology of the world snake, the snake that is wrapped around the world, the flat world. The snake that eats its own tail, the snake that lives underneath the water and keeps the sailors from sailing too far out. The sea serpents that they always draw right at the edges of the old maps. The sea serpents were there to keep men from traveling too far. Those are the old tales as well. Was that they would travel so far out and they would see the serpents and they would have to turn the boats back if they couldn't kill them. I don't believe that Leviathan was a whale. There's a lot of people that say, "Oh, Leviathan was a whale." Can't you tell? No, yeah, Leviathan wasn't a whale. Leviathan was an actual sea serpent. I don't know if I ever talked about the rock formations in northern Africa that resemble a serpent. They resemble a dragon, actually, and they're huge too. If it was a dragon, because I don't remember who. I think it was probably that mud fossil guy, which he is. He's got some good information, but he's got some weird stuff. It's Mud Fossil University. He's got some stuff that's kind of out there that I'm just like, I don't know if I can listen to him. But one day he was talking about the serpent. He's talking about the dragon bones in Africa. And I was like, the dragon bones in Africa? What? So he was like, yeah. So he pulled up a map of Africa and he was on there talking about it, and he was like, you can see there's this, and this. You can see where the head's here and the tail's here and all this stuff and the wings. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of neat and all. But then I kind of zoomed out on it, and I kind of really took a look at it, and I said, there's a head right there. There's a head. There's a neck. And you could kind of see this kind of a long body that stretched across the entire northern continent of Africa. The top of it, it's like you could see the outline of it, and I was like, I don't know how far I want to get into it. You get some guys that they really want you to believe that every mountain was a giant, and they'll show you faces in the rocks and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, there's some faces. There's some interesting things. It's amazing how, there's some rock formations that look like elephants, and there's some rock formations that look like snakes, and, there's rock formations that look like people, and, the penises that are everywhere, that these rock formations that resemble penises, which are just weird within themselves. There were giants on the earth. I agree with this. And yes, a lot of them became fossilized, and a lot of them became mountains. But not every mountain is a giant. I just don't believe that. But some people do. Some people will show you just a random mountain and just be like, "Oh, look, there's a giant there." I'm like, "Nah, I don't." So this whole thing with the great dragon of northern Africa, I was like, there could be something there. I don't want to put too much weight into it, but it's even if you can't see the wings, it still looks like a snake. The Bible talks about giant snakes in the water. Could this be Leviathan? They said he killed Leviathan and gave the meat to gave the meat to the Israelites in the wilderness. Is that a thing? I don't know. That's one of those deals where you just kind of like, how do I approach that? How do I approach that without sounding completely, utterly insane? Of course, then again, half the stuff I talk about just sounds completely, utterly insane when you really get down to it. But that's kind of a thing, and you put that together with all this other mythology, and it there's this narrative that kind of forms that there's more to it than just it's kind of like proving the Bible has some kind of validity. Not that it needs it, but proving the Bible that has some kind of validity by looking at the things of the world and just being like, there's something there, and you can connect all of these stories together of all these people that had all these stories, how all of them came out of the flood, how all of these stories are so close together, and you start understanding the narrative that there was a Tower of Babel, and that when God confused their languages, they took all of these tales and myths to different places, and they became changed because their languages had changed, because they had become confused. And you start creating this story of how the world really came together. And I had a whole video of that too. It's like some 2-hour monster a couple of years back where I kind of went through all that. It's been a long time since I've been down that road. And it's hard to go back down that road because a lot of the videos, a lot of the information, a lot of the things that I was reading and going through, I have not been back there, and a lot of it's been just scrubbed. A lot of it's just gone. My secret playlist that I keep on YouTube has become deleted videos. There's just big, huge chunks of deleted videos now, and it's sad. But now it's like I still have that information. It's just sometimes it gets jumbled up because my memory's not the best. I don't ever claim my memory is the best, but I remember that these things connect in ways, and I wish I had this stuff in book form where I could hold on to it and keep it. I just don't. So that's why every time I find like a Indian mythology book, or I have a Greek mythology book, anytime I find them whenever we're out at like a flea market or something, I got to pick it up because it's better to have it and be able to show how these things connect than to trust that it will be on the internet forever. I'll never be on the internet forever. This stuff will be gone eventually too, so it is what it is. But that's the thing. That's the pulling the Leviathan out of the sea and giving him his meat. There's somewhere else in the Bible, and I don't think that reference they have here, the Numbers 14:9. I don't think that's right. It's not perfect. This Bible's not perfect. Verse 15. Thou didst cleave the fountain in the flood, thou driest up mighty rivers. The day is thine, the night also is thine. Thou hast prepared the light and the sun. Thou hast set all the borders of the earth. Thou hast made summer and winter. Remember this, that the enemy hath reproached, O Lord, that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. O deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove unto the multitude of the wicked. Forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Just random because we're in that season. It wasn't until recently, I think maybe 2 years ago, that I looked at the list of things. When you come up with a complete list of things that the 12 days of Christmas tell you to keep, it is very similar to a list of ritual sacrifice items. Kind of go through it. Kind of go through the list and see what they say. There's several references in the Bible about bringing such and such amount of turtle doves. It's bringing such and such amount of bulls and cows and whatever. And there's something to the number and there's something to the actual animals that are brought. Where it gets tricky is there's something to the rings too, believe it or not, the 5 golden rings and the whole thing, you know. But it also gets a little out of control when you start talking about maids and you start talking about boys, and you realize that Christmas is a sacrificial ritual, and then you start talking about how the 12 days of Christmas are a grocery list of ritualistic items, and it makes you stop and think. I'm not saying it is what it is. I'm just saying the things on that list start looking like ritualistic items. And the further up that list you go, the worse the sacrifices become. It's just something to look into if you want to. I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying that was something that came to me a while back, and I was like, that's kind of a thing, you know. And I think it's, it goes from 1 through 12. I don't think it like stacks. It could stack. If it stacks, that's even worse. For example, what I mean is if you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, every day you bring that specific thing. By stacking, I mean every day you bring that thing plus the thing from the day before. That's why we count down the list. It's one of the Christmas things that I don't know if I still have that video or not. One of the Christmas things I remember watching that made me think that, by the end of it, you have, 12 partridges in a pear tree. You have, 24, 24 turtle doves. It's 36, 3 French hens. So it's like 36 French hens. It stacks. Now, if you count it as it being stacking, it gets a little out of control because again, you're talking about some massive amounts of numbers of humans inside of that box. But the golden rings things has something to do with it. There was something I read outside of it that I definitely don't remember anymore because I only glanced over it about the 5 golden rings being used in alchemy. So, there's something there. There's definitely something worth looking at there. I don't know if you want to or not. You don't have to. I'm not telling anybody to go look at anything Christmassy. But again, it's one of those things that helps you understand how this world has manipulated us. I am logging into my computer because it's getting to be about time. We're going to finish this though. So let me all I need to do is get in there and then turn on my VPN. But while we're waiting, because this computer's been getting slower and slower for some reason, But yes, O deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove unto the multitude of the wicked. Forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Again, a turtle dove, it was, you bring 2 turtle doves or 3 turtle doves, or I don't remember how much it says, for a certain sin in the Bible. I don't remember where it was. I just remember that, when you come across it, it's like, well, that's how many turtle doves it says in the song. Wait a minute, one of those types of things. So, I don't know. I don't, anyways, that's a whole other concept, and I could follow that road down, but it's like I don't have the time right now. Verse 20, have respect unto the covenants, for the dark places of the earth are full of the habitations of cruelty. It's another reference to just how bad people are, full of the habitations of cruelty. Oh, let not the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. Arise, O God, plead thine own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. Forget not the voice of thine enemies. The tumult of those that rise up against thee increaseth continually. Because evil increases continually, constantly. Evil is a snowball. It will slowly grow and grow and grow if you let it. If you don't stop it, evil will increase continually. The Bible says that I don't know how many times. The Bible also says that the that the evil ones should not be allowed to breed because of that, because they will breed corrupt leaders. They will breed corrupt. It increases constantly. That's where we are now. Is that we've let the worst people in the world breed in secret to put their families into positions of power where they only worry about themselves. They don't worry about anybody else. And that those families are the ones, the top bloodline families are the ones that are now telling you that the world's overpopulated, and that they have the cure-all for you. Just saying. I don't know how many times I have to say that before people start getting it. Is that those that push depopulation are the same that are pushing mass vaccinations. I don't know how many times I gotta say that, because it's true. Those that preach overpopulation are the same that push mass vaccinations. Mass vaccinations. Just saying. I don't want to say it too many times because reasons. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Again, that I feel work coming. I'm just once I get this computer hooked up and I just see this same screen, I'm just like I just feel it coming. So hopefully today will go fast for me. Hopefully I'll be able to get through it. Tired today though. We'll see. Anyways, just I don't want people to think that I'm trying to lead them away from the Bible, because I've heard so many arguments. I've heard so many different people say it. I've heard debates on it that you shouldn't be looking outside the Bible to get any form of history or anything. And I'm like, if you don't look outside the Bible, how are you supposed to know what's happening? What's going on? I mean, I understand that's supposed to be your source of faith and righteousness, and that is exactly right. That's exactly what we're supposed to follow. But we are called to be wise as serpents. The serpents of this world are using the things of this world They're using them against us. Everything in this world is created against us. If we don't know how they use these things against us, how are we going to be wise as serpents? We have to know these things. We can know the things of the world without following the things of the world. We're not supposed to know everything. That is set in stone 100%. We're not supposed to know everything. We were never supposed to know everything. But, you know, it just kind of fell into that place where, you know, a lot of knowledge came to a very small amount of people in this world. And now those very small people are using that knowledge against us. So if they're using that knowledge against us, why shouldn't we know what they're using it for so that we can prevent ourselves from falling into that trap? I don't know why I'm harking on this as much as I am. I just, you know, again, I just don't want to lead anybody astray. And I want people to understand that that's definitely not what I'm trying to do here. So again, I've had people tell me I'm wrong for it. I don't want to be wrong for it. I don't want to lead anyone astray. I just want people to understand that that's what's happening. You know, they're using the world against you. And when you take two steps back and you look at it from a certain point of view, you can see just how bad it is. You can definitely understand just how bad it is. So, uh, either way, that's it's been a long time since I've been around, you know, doing what I was doing. I was up one side of you know, looking into that stuff and downside the other. Just the, you know, listening to the tales of Gilgamesh, listening to those old Jewish folk tales, making notes. I don't know where those notes went. Those are that was like 4 years ago. You know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That was, man, that was in a different job too, where I had like a notepad, and as I would hear it, I would write it down. You know, while I was working, and it's gone. I don't know where it is. But there's a lot there. There's a lot there. There's a lot of stuff to digest. The the 12 days of Christmas thing, you get down to it, it gets a little crazy, and it's like I said, it just comes out as a shopping list, you know, sacrificial shopping list. You're just like, oh, that's terrible, that's horrible, but it all means something. There's something inside of all of it. There's I don't know what, you know, I can't unpack it because I haven't read all the text. I don't know. You know, there's some of that stuff's hidden from us and will remain hidden from us forever. But there's other parts of it that are just like, why are they? You know, even the song itself is weird. Why is somebody giving their true love all of these things when, you know, it's just the song never made sense to me. Why would you give them all this crap? A bunch of animals. I get, you know, back in the day, I understand you give that many animals to somebody to eat, but you're giving them maids milking, you know, you're giving them drummer boys and, you know, all this stuff, and you're just like, what's with the rings? It's by the end of it, you're talking about something like, oh, how many was it? You gotta think for a second whenever he comes to the rings. It's something like, it's like 35 rings, something. 35 golden rings, maybe more. I could be wrong on that because my numbers, I'm not thinking right because it's too early in the morning. But it's, what would you do with all this stuff? What would you do with all this stuff? Unless you did it one day at a time. But then, like I said, if it stacks, it's worse. So I don't know. I don't know. It's something. It's something that if you feel like looking into it, feel free. It's like I said. It's Christmas is just weird, anyways. They sold you a lie. I'll tell you what. Yeah, people don't like it, man. I don't know how many times I've said it over the past couple days that people don't like it whenever you tell them not to lie to your children. Ooh, boy howdy, they will call you every name in the book. They will tell you all this stuff, but you know what? All you have to do is look up the definition of Old Nick. Old, Oldnick. Old Nick. You look up the definition. You can Google this too. This isn't like it's hidden knowledge. Google will tell you straight up who Old Nick was. So if Old Nick was this, then who is Old Saint Nick? You know? Seriously, just Google that. I mean, I'm not. You kind of know who it is. I'm probably said it anyways, but really, Old Nick, unbelievable. He wears red. He wears red. He breaks into people's houses and he gives you presents if you've been good or bad. What are you kidding me with this? Are you kidding me with this? He's not real, and yet you people take your kids out to take pictures with him. 9 times out of 10, a kid is freaking out, crying because they don't want to sit on this guy's lap. A stranger. You're taking your kid to a stranger to sit them on their lap to take pictures of them because you think it's cute. In the meantime, there are actual statues and there is actual documentation of these statues where they used to light fires inside of the bellies of these things so that the statue would heat up and they would take babies and they would lay it on the laps of these statues so that they could burn to a crisp. I'm not saying that to be nasty. I'm not saying that to be ugly. I'm saying that's the truth. That's what they used to do. They used to sacrifice children on the lap of these statues. At the same exact time as you're taking your children to the lap of Old Nick, whose name is an anagram of the name of... Come on, man. Oh. You're an asshole for saying that. You don't have to be an asshole for saying that. No, no, no. No, I'm trying to tell you the truth. The truth is that you're lying to your children. You're perpetuating that lie to your children. And you're going to keep perpetuating that lie to your children because you think that it's cute whenever they go off and they, they play with... You think it's cute whenever they go sit on Santa's lap and you can take your pictures. You think it's cute whenever you take their pictures in front of your tree that the Bible tells you not to put up in your house. The Bible tells you not to deck with silver and gold, and you enjoy it. And you enjoy it, and people revel in it. People absolutely revel in it. And people want to put Christ back into Christmas. And it's like, Christ isn't anywhere near Christmas. I'm sorry. It's just not. He's not. He's nowhere near Christmas. If he was near Christmas, we wouldn't be celebrating it. We don't celebrate Christ's birthday. Oh, that's bad. Oh, you're a heathen. You're a heathen for even mentioning it. No, I'm just telling you the truth. You don't celebrate Christ's birthday at Christmas. That's not how it works. Are we even supposed to celebrate birthdays? Are we? I'll tell you what, you know who celebrates birthdays? Satanists. Satanists love birthdays. Satanic Bible says that if you want to celebrate holidays, the best holiday to celebrate is your birthday, because that's the day we're born. That's the day that we're born into this world, and that we get to be as evil and twisted as we can be. So yes, to us, the birthday is the most sacred day of the year. Somebody even told me that on Twitter. I said, we probably shouldn't be celebrating birthdays anyways, and they said there were two birthdays celebrated in the Bible, and both of them are pagan. I don't know which ones they were. It's something I got to look up, but that just was confirmation for me. I mean, what do you want? You know? What? Genesis. Genesis 40:20 to 22. And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up his head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again. He gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand, and he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted. Pharaoh had a birthday in the Bible. How much you want to bet his birthday was the 25th of December? How much you want to bet? Crying out loud. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Matthew 14. Wow. When Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herod danced before them and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatever she should ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. So there was a birthday celebrated in Matthew, and what had happened was he saw a woman dancing, and he said, What do you want? And she asked for the head of John the Baptist. Unbelievable. Oh, look at this though. This is funny. So now it's talking about Luke. It's talking about the shepherds. It's talking about the shepherds coming to see Jesus. But that's still not. And they were in the same country, shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flocks by night. You don't keep your flocks out at night in the middle of winter. It's just not. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. It wasn't. There's a lot of people that have talked about this. If you want to really get down into it, you go find out what the actual date of birth of Christ would have been, and you talk about the guys that they talk about how the shepherds. It says right here, Luke chapter 2, and chapter 2 verse 8, and there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. Even though, if you want to believe the Middle East was where he was born, even though it was in the Middle East, during winter it gets cold. Hell, Egypt just had a snowfall. Think about that for a second. Egypt just had snow. You don't keep sheep out whenever it's 30-something degrees and it could snow. So no, there were no shepherds abiding in the field December 25th of, whenever it was. That's not how it works. People said that's either, they either would have them out in the spring or they would have them out in the fall. And somebody had kind of put it together where, John the Baptist was born a certain day, and so many months after that Christ would have been born, and they said that it falls around September. And of course, everybody says September 11th, which makes the perfect sense. I don't know. I don't get so far into that, but it's possible. Anything's possible at this point. Anyways, birthdays and all that stuff. We're getting way off track here. All right, so I need to stop so I can go to work. I can do this all day, man. I'm telling you, I could do this all day. I could contradict your holidays all day. I could do Easter for you too if you want me to, because Easter's right there. Ishtar. You want to talk about the celebration of Ishtar? We can talk about that. I have to go outside the Bible to be able to talk about Valentine's Day and Halloween, but we can do that too. I'm sure those are probably in there as well. I'm sure those are in there as well. I don't know where, but I'm sure those are in there. So, anyways, you do whatever you want to do, man. Anybody that's listening to this probably has some kind of an understanding and knowledge of not only the Bible, but they have an understanding that you know I cannot judge you for what you do. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tell you that the Father says you're wrong. The Father doesn't want you to be like that. Come on out. Come on out of Babylon. Stop following in the practices of this world because they don't lead to anything. They're vanity more than anything else. I was thinking about it the other day. What do you do with the Christmas tree? Where do you put the Christmas tree in your house? You put it right in front of your window. Why? Because you want your neighbors to see how nice your tree is. That's vanity. Why do you hang the lights up in front of your house? Because you want people to see your Christmas spirit. It's vanity. Why do you put those stupid blow up balloons in front of your house? Because you want people to see your Christmas spirit. It's vanity. It's vanity. Why do you buy presents for your kids? Because you want your kids to be happy. Because it makes you happy. It's vanity. Why do you lie to your children about Santa Claus? Take them out Santa Claus so that you can get your picture. It's vanity. Why do you get your Christmas picture? Why do you take your holiday pictures of your family just to send those cards out, those pictures out to your family, your extended family? Why do you do that? It's vanity. It's all for yourself. Is it for God? Are those Christmas cards for God? Is that tree for God? Are those blow up dolls in your front yard? Are those for God? Is buying all those gifts, spending all that money on all that crap for your kids, is that for God? It's vanity. I I had that thought the other day. If I haven't lost anybody, before, I've definitely lost everybody on that one. Okay, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. I get so wound up on this because man, it is just such a nightmare at this point. Thank you guys for listening. I could keep going, but I gotta stop. I gotta get to work. Thank you guys for listening. I love y'all. God bless. Dude, read your Bibles, man. Just get in there. Get in there and read it and understand what they're saying. Understand what the Bible's telling you. Understand what God wants for you. He doesn't want this stuff for you. We have these feast days that God set up for us that are far better, that focus less on spending money and buying stuff and eating stuff and doing this crap and all these traditions of men. We have these feast days that are so much nicer than doing all this other garbage. That you don't have to, you don't have to stress. You don't have to do all this stuff. You shouldn't be stressing to celebrate God. You shouldn't do that. There's something better out there. There really is. He doesn't want you to stress. He wants you to be free. He wants you to be free of this stuff. Come be free. Come out of Babylon. Come. Get away from it. Get away from it. You don't need it. You don't need material nonsense. You don't need the things of this world. You don't need to store up the treasures of this world. You don't need your kids to learn how to store up the treasures of this world. You don't need to lie to your children to have a good time. I gotta go. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you later. Oh man, I will see you guys later. Get me fired up. I'm telling you what, I'll just keep going and going and going. All right, you guys take care. God bless. Read your Bibles and pray to the Father for discernment. All right, I shall talk to y'all later.